Well, good morning, Jack. John Tice coming to you today. I'm bringing you a little different topic than typical, although it's all spun around a lot of technology for you. The presentation I've got for you today is all about being safe. Now, we've talked about doing open houses and safety and meeting up with strangers and so forth. A little different spin on it today. How about online safety? I know we all do a lot of different things when we're out running around these days, but one of the great threats to you, whether you're aware of it or not, might be just the way you manage yourself when you're online. Majority of you, probably the vast majority, all have smartphones these days. And we love that convenience, man. Emails in the palm of your hand. We've got all these apps. We all know that I'm a huge fan. But do you ever step back and think how you're letting yourself open to the rest of the world? We're going to explore a couple of those things today as we go along. I'm going to open with a video by a gentleman, Andrew Wooten. Andrew was the head of agent safety for the National Association of Realtors. I caught his act in Atlantic City 2 years ago. Unfortunately, Andrew died shortly after that in a tragic accident on vacation. Just goes to show that even a well-prepared, highly aware guy is still susceptible to a tragedy, and life comes at you fast, guys. So I just want to give you a couple tips this morning on maybe how you can do some things differently, maybe not take for granted some of the things that we do. And let's start with Andrew, and we'll see what he has to say. It's a very brief video, only a minute or two.
Number one crime in America today is identity theft. We're going to show you how to recognize warning signs, things you can do to decrease the chance of being victimized. 20 questions, 20 answers. That's all it's going to take to decrease the chance of being victimized by the number one crime in America, which is identity theft. Look forward to seeing you soon.
So the video I showed you was just to kind of open your eyes a little bit that we take a lot of things for granted. Laying on your desk at any time could be somebody's personal information. It could be in your file folder that's sitting on the desk when you're meeting with a separate client. We've got stickers on our monitors with passwords into Homebase that would allow somebody to just sit down, log in a minute, and go right into Homebase and see private information of buyers and sellers. Now, the address or the price that they're paying may not be the exciting stuff, but what about name, address, age, birthday, social security number? We have these things flying around all the time. We've certainly gotten better at it, but I've been in plenty of offices to know there's just a lot of stuff sitting around. Security in one area or another may not be the best. And the files you're walking around with on a daily basis, are you keeping your eye on them? You know, I drive a convertible. I'm highly aware of where my stuff is. When I get out of the car, it all goes into the trunk. It's all locked down. But we're going to look at some things that you do on a daily basis that may leave you wide open to a little identity theft. More and more, we're using our cell phones, our smartphones, as our center of our world. They have access to everything, and we sure like the convenience, because I know everybody hates password. We like the convenience of having something just pop up, and it already knows it's us. We've saved the passwords, and we just pop right in, do our online banking, do whatever, and move along. Well, until I saw Andrew's presentation through Triple Play, I was not a fan myself of a lot of passwords, and especially the one on my phone. When Andrew was finished with me, I was thrilled to be using a password to get in and out of my phone, simply because if I'm going to be lax about it, maybe I need something to kind of back me up, and that password certainly does and protects me. It's a little bit of a hassle, but if somebody gets my phone, and you all know the number of apps that I'm test driving at all times, it's real possible they're going to have access to a lot of my world. And there's actually a number of things I don't do through my cell phone any longer simply because of concerns for security. When Andrew was speaking, he talked about probably the number one risk, and it's something that we all love to track down, and that's free Wi-Fi. When you're at a conference, when you're traveling, even throughout your day, I know many of you are out scouting for free Wi-Fi. We're all trying to save a buck whenever we can. There's nothing wrong with that. However, what he demonstrated to us is that for a $20-some program, $25, $29 program, and a free Wi-Fi system, maybe at Starbucks, McDonald's, you know, everybody's got free Wi-Fi these days. These are open networks. They're not secure. So when that little message pops up and says this is an open network, other people may be able to see your work. There are people that could be in that room with a $25 computer program that they bought on Craigslist, like Andrew did. They can clone your desktop and see everything you're doing. Not only do they see what you're doing right now, but they can also access other browsers. And if they access that, and you let your computer save your login passwords for your online banking, just any number of accounts, your Amazon account, whatever it might be, they can start shopping and have access to your numbers, and they're quickly jotting these things down. So think about the last time you used a free Wi-Fi system. Maybe you were just at the ERA convention, and you went to the hotspot, and that's an open network. Maybe you sat in the lobby of a very nice hotel and just used their free Wi-Fi. These systems are not secure. So somebody could be sitting right there, and like Andrew told us in his presentation, his favorite place are lobbies of better hotels. Why? Because you have a better clientele. So they've got better personal information. If you're going to scrape anybody's information, why not get good information? So he would sit there and he would be able to clone other people's desktops. And then one thing, you know, of course he traveled around for NAR, so he was everywhere. But he loved to walk up to you and say, let me tell you what somebody would be able to do. And as head of our security team, you know, he would share some tips with them. Now, somebody walked up to me and said, John, I'm watching what you're doing, and I see this, and I see that, and by the way, I could access this and this and this. That might cool me off to computers for a long time. Personally, I've been traveling and using my own Wi-Fi for a long time. After I saw his presentation, totally worth the money. I have my own secure network that I travel with at all times. It's a minimum investment when you think of the stories you've heard on identity theft and how many years and how much money it takes people to unscrew those situations. And if somebody got into my accounts and walked away with my cash in our business, you know, there's no safety net for that. You need another sale and another commission to start rebuilding your cash stash. So, you know, bouncing back can take a while. So when it comes to open networks, I would tell you to avoid them. Andrew would tell you to avoid them. They're not secure. They're probably one of the great openings that you have. Likewise, your cell phone. We love to do e-commerce through our cell phone. It's the fastest growing e-commerce section is through a mobile device. Just make sure that you're in like a little private location. Systems where they can mirror your cell phone have a rather limited range, at least at the time of his presentation they did. So make sure you're in a private, quiet spot. when you're shopping online, because people are able to capture your information. Again, a very simple program or an app allows them to clone your device because they're nearby and actually watch you put your credit card numbers in, see what's going on, and walk away with your information. This guy was very imposing, very terrifying. Never got to see his 20 questions and 20 answers to identity theft, but he shared a lot of them with us, and it really all came around regarding open networks. There's something that you may or may not be aware of. If you're a Comcast or Xfinity client for internet, they recently sent out a mailer, and you can find this information on their website, that you have access to a private network anywhere you go. So if you go on their website, look for a document that talks about their portable Wi-Fi. Because if you walked into my home, and I'm a Comcast user, and I've got a Wi-Fi device from Comcast, and you set up your device, you actually have a private, secure channel everywhere you go, regardless of whose home you walk into. Because if they've got Comcast Wi-Fi, they've got it set up with their own password, the network is going to recognize your device, you've set up a private channel, and it's going to allow you to access that privately in their home without anyone else's network key, password. It just automatically will connect and allow you to do business while you're there with them. So it might be one you want to look into if you bought that iPad, didn't buy the cell service, or you don't want to have that big data plan. Look into this one, because the vast majority of homes we get to already have Wi-Fi. They're going to allow you to simply access it. The owner's never going to know what happened. And even if that owner doesn't have it, if a neighbor does, you know, when you bring these networks up, you'll see multiple networks. So you'll be able to tap into Wi-Fi in a number of places. And the great thing is it'll do it automatically. So it's a very new feature by Xfinity and the Comcast people, but it gives you a private channel in many, many places you go. So you can start to imagine the businesses and the homes that are working with Comcast Wi-Fi where you suddenly have data access. I'm showing you here on the screen a resource from the National Association of Realtors. This is really an excellent article. And keeping your technology safe gives you some ideas, just what we're talking about here, how to keep your information private. It's going to give you safety tips when you're using your smartphone. There's actually a lot of tips on setting up mobile networks. There's tips on apps that you might want to use for personal safety. This is not the red folder stuff. This is your personal information, your banking information, and private information. There's also a second article, and I'm going to be adding both of these links to the online share. The second article, The Paranoid Survival Guide, Part 1, and there's also a Part 2, How to Protect Your Data. This is from March of this year. This is current stuff coming to you from Computer World. Really an excellent, excellent article, and both of them are. And so I'm going to, I'll be providing links to both of these for you. So if this is a concern of yours, it certainly should be, I'm going to share both of them with you so you can have access to this. And give me a chance to read up on some of the techniques. My favorite one, you know, we all love the private apps and the free stuff. A friend of mine that speaks online always says, if the service that you're using is free, you're the product. They all want your personal information. Give us your email address. Allow us to connect with your Facebook account, your Twitter account, your Pinterest account, whatever you might have. They want your contacts. They want your information. They want to leverage this stuff. So what if somebody created an app and all they wanted was your private information? They made a cool app and then they took that information and scraped it, ran off with it. You know, we're very open to give that stuff. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but let's think our way through it. So, you know, read the reviews. Make sure you know what you're getting into. There's a scam line out there. Maybe you want to look into that and just Google that before you actually sign up for something. And, you know, just hedge your bet. A lot of great information out there at your fingertips today. One of my favorite tips in setting up some of these accounts. If there's an account that you'd really like to use, but you don't want to share your information, you can't get past it, it's a 3-letter answer, and it's called lie. This system doesn't know your birthday. It doesn't know your email address. It may want to confirm an email address, so set up another email address. Don't give them your Jack On account or your Gmail where you do all of your private business that has other important information. Have that third address and just let it verify through that. That way you can get the information you want, comply with their needs, but you're not giving away the ranch, man, with all of your personal information. So, think your way through some of these things. For many of them, you're going to want to give them accurate information. For others, well, maybe not. Just determine that battle. But if you're out there and you're signing up for 100 apps, there's no way that 100 apps have to have your information or that you want that available. One of the main tips in here, never create an account using your Facebook information. Your Facebook information has a lot of personal identifiable information, and it's going to grab it and link into contacts and everything again. So weigh that one carefully and decide what you want to do, but don't connect with Facebook. Connect by sending them an email address that you set up as a third party to handle these kind of accounts. It's a lot of common sense when it comes down to it. So no open networks. Don't be logging in with Facebook, and create that bogus account so that you have a safe place to share information. It's not rocket science. Just want you to be safe. Want you to keep your information safe. Final piece that I want to talk about, I know I've covered this before, as you're scanning documents and sending them off for e-signatures, DocuSign is a highly rated account for privacy because it is an encrypted account. So you can use that and feel real safe about it. But if you're a Google fan and you've got Google Docs and and Google Drive and you're saving all of those forms online within Google, Google's been reported as one of the least secure, and it's, again, with Andrew and NAR, it is not recommended for saving clients' information, their personal information. You want to use a system at least as secure as Dropbox, or the most secure that they report, and there are free sections to this, is Box.net. That'll give you a couple gigs of storage, but it's fully encrypted. So when that information is in there, even in an open network, somebody else is not going to be able to see it. However, if they're in an open network and they get into your machine, they have access to your encrypted files. So let's think of how they're all connected together, and be careful out there. You don't want to be in the news like Target for losing somebody's personal information because there was a security breach. And when you sign on to Google or any of these systems, do you ever read their terms of service? You click off that you have, or you aren't going forward. So read them briefly. They all say the same thing for the most part, but there could be one or two sections where it talks about how they can share information, leverage it, market to it. So we don't know their business partners. I'd feel comfortable with Google, but where does Google send it? So I'm not giving them anything to work with that I can't control. Got a little control issue here and there. So I'm recommending that you think through and do the same thing. Think through the process. Make sure that you're in a secure environment. And just be careful out there. You're whirling around, and it's only going to get to be more. We're sharing a lot of information. We have a lot of information at our fingertips of our clients, of your own, and it takes a long time to unscrew these things. So don't be that guy. So just a couple tips. These articles are great. I hope you take a few minutes and scan through them. They're very quick. It's the only stuff I read. But you'll find that there's a lot of obvious stuff that we could be doing wrong. And I just want you to be careful out there. Free is not always your best choice. You may need to spend some money and have your own hotspot and walk around in a secure environment. And in our business, money well spent. So everyone have a great weekend. I hope this is helpful to you. Hope to talk to you again. And we'll be back next Tuesday. New app. And Be safe out there. Now go sell something. Have a great weekend.